Recording. Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Jiva Doya Talks. I'm your host, Nitai, aka Jiva, and I'm really excited about today's episode because it's the first time I'm having a guest on the show. As you may or may not know, I'm currently exploring spiritual authenticity and what that means to me. So I decided to get on a call with my buddy Mamu Thakur from New Zealand to just open up that conversation, and we decided to make it an episode for the podcast. So I think it's really cool. It's a really cool conversation. We're going to be talking about the importance of being true to yourself, being authentic, and being honest with your struggles, your challenges on your spiritual journey, even though the society of devotees might be judging you for who you are, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So I hope you like the episode. Stay tuned and let me know what you think. Cheers. So,
Very cool.
welcome, Mamu. This is the first time I'm doing it with someone, so I'm happy that you are the first person jumping on this thing. All right, so we've been talking about a lot of issues, like variety of issues regarding mental health, authenticity, guilt, and all that. I think it's been like 2 weeks already since we've been talking, like having these conversations.
Yeah, even longer. Even I remember when I was in Maribor, we were having these conversations last
Right.
year, even, but it's just amped up a little bit since then, for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
And like I told you, I think like other people might benefit from those conversations. So I'm
Yeah.
happy that we finally made it here, and hopefully we can speak something of value.
I mean, it's a huge topic because I
Yeah,
think they both feed into each other as well. Mental health and also being able to be honest with
right.
ourselves and other people. I
Yeah,
mean, I I see I see myself, and also I see in some of the devotees around me. There's this external facade that I think stops devotees from being able to be fully honest with themselves, and then it in
right.
turn then makes them bottle up a lot of the actual feelings and desires they have, which then manifests as sometimes mental illness or
Right.
issues down that avenue.
I think that's why when we started having those talks, that's the reason why I recorded. I think it was 2 episodes on spiritual authenticity, but like you said, it's a big topic. It's quite vast, and yeah, there's so many angles that we can explore this situation. But I think yeah, authenticity and guilt also goes hand in hand.
For sure, man. I mean, I know in my experience, I've told you about something that happened with me a few years ago in regards to a devotee in the Sanga that had schizophrenia, and they had a
Right.
breakdown. And after that the event that took place there, it triggered me to want to spread awareness of mental health in devotee sanghas, and I came up with quite a lot of backlash there. I think we've talked about it, but
Right.
it's just interesting. It was interesting for me to see what was coming back, because I raised awareness. I raised my concern about a few devotees in the community here, that seemed like they were going through quite a lot. And out of concern, I spoke to my seniors, like, these devotees look like they're going through some difficulty here. Should we help them? And then they expressed to me, oh, this is almost borderline aparad. How
How dare
you're
you?
assuming that, yeah, exactly. Like, how dare you say that this devotee might be having issues, like they do service, you know. I can't, that actually, one of the devotees actually told me, one of the senior devotees told me I can't afford to lose this devotee because he does so much service. So I don't want to pry into anything in case it triggers something for him to even leave the Sangha.
Right.
So we'll just leave it how it is, and then he'll keep doing his seva, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah,
I,
it's
I,
it's
I
pretty,
Yeah, I think like we label a lot of things upright because we don't want to disturb the status quo.
yeah,
Yeah, like we don't want
yeah,
to get
yeah.
involved, and also because we might have our own, I don't know, personal agenda. Like you're saying, oh, if I pry too much, then this person might be triggered and he's gonna leave the movement or leave the temple, leave the yatra, and then who's gonna cook Sunday feast, you know?
Exactly, exactly. Meanwhile, there's, I mean, there's so much of a push at the moment, at least in the yatra here in Auckland, for devotee care, devotee care. But I don't know how much of that is actually hitting home, like deeply, like creating an environment for devotees to actually genuinely be 100% authentic with the stuff they're going through. That's not just addressing external issues or broadly kind of like addressing being in Maya or under the
Oh,
moods or
yeah,
struggling with lust,
yeah.
you know? So yeah, it's definitely it's a broad topic. I'm not too sure where you want to come
Yeah, even
from
when
there.
I've, in my experience, when I've seen like, oh, there's this devotee care, how do you call it, like retreat or seminar or something, it's often quite superficial, and in my experience of what I've observed, is like it's never, or it doesn't really touch upon mental health, you know.
I agree with you, and then the few retreats I've been to that have been like that, like either men's retreat or you know just devotee retreats, which is also it's nice, but it's kind
Yeah.
of like it just you go there and it's just there's association and there's prasad and kirtan and Bhagavatam class, but it doesn't necessarily, in my eyes, also it doesn't cultivate an environment where people can still be 100% authentic. It's just going and doing much of the same in another place.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
It's like we're delaying these talks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly, exactly. And I think,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, the Sangha, as far as I see it in different places I've been, it doesn't present an environment where people can be authentic because there's so much of a focus on externals and
Right.
being paka and being able to quote Shastra and wear a dhoti and wear a sari properly and shave up and wear tilak. And if you tick those boxes, then we accept you. And if you don't tick those boxes, then we reject you, basically. And although there might be talk of devotee care and although there might be talk of acceptance and Srila Prabhupada's mercy, as far as I've seen it, as soon as I see devotees that maybe fall back from the standard of being able to chant 16 rounds or
Right.
um, follow all the regs, as much as we talk about these principles of mercy and acceptance, the society rejects them, you know. And I see it again and again everywhere. I'm sure you've had similar experiences.
Right. I think also I wanted to mention about these, I don't know, so-called devotee influencers out there, because I feel that that doesn't help, mm, yeah, opening up a space for these conversations, because these so-called devotee influencers are putting out, content also kind of downplaying the whole situation with stuff like, oh, I don't need therapy, Prabhu, I just chant and be happy. Oh, Prabhu, that's karmi stuff. I only need to read the books, and I just go for kirtan. Prabhu, kirtan is our bhajan, that's our everything. But in reality,
Yeah,
I feel that we are using the process of bhakti either as, I don't know, like as a tool to maybe escape reality, or perhaps just a way to avoid working on ourselves. And and then I don't know, when things don't work out, we end up putting that responsibility on the spiritual society, or I don't know, perhaps ultimately blaming Krishna or whatever.
yeah, yeah. It's heavy. I mean, tell that tell that to the devotee that had the schizophrenic breakdown and held a rifle to the deity.
Yeah, right.
Hey, he came to the temple and I was happened to be there. Not that I'm regularly there for Mangalarti, but that day I happened to be there for Mangalarti and he was there. He showed up for Mangalarti. He chanted his rounds. He attended Bhagavatam class. He ate prasadam. And by the afternoon, he was holding a rifle to the deities. So what, like,
Just
of
give him
course,
more,
it's an extreme example.
just give him more halava.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, these things are obviously.
Right.
I don't mean to downplay um chanting and attending Bhagavatam class and eating prasadam and seeing the deity. Um, but at the same time, obviously, there's other avenues that need to be
Right.
pursued to give devotees help for this. I mean, I believe we talked, maybe it was you and me, we talked about um, accepting things that are beneficial for bhakti that might not necessarily fall under of bhakti that are
Yeah.
beneficial for
Hmm.
devotees. pretty advanced. Did you want to talk about that a little bit, or do you want to open up that
I
conversation?
just when you were telling your story about that devotee who came in Mangalarti, I just remember something. This happened like I don't know, man, like 15 years ago or something, and it just like I just remember about it. So I want to share. I want to share that.
Yeah.
I remember um, we we went out for Harinam, right? It was like Saturday or something, and we went out, this kind of like touristy area and whatever. We're doing Harinam, putting on a good show, and then one of the Matajis, she was quite young. Um, she had I don't know, I don't know what's the proper term, but she just fainted, and I immediately freaked out. I was like, okay, what the hell is happening? We're doing Harinam. This lady just, you know, faints. Maybe we should stop the Harinam and get her the help she needs, right? Because that's the obvious thing you will do. But
Yeah.
the devotees kept chanting. And then there were like maybe two devotees that came to kind of like move her from the main, you know, they just brought her back behind the book table. And I shouldn't be laughing about this, but it's just like it's so messed up, and I'm so
Yeah.
traumatized.
Yeah.
It's just so traumatic. It's such a traumatic event that I can't forget it. But so there were like two Matajis um around this lady who just fainted, and they were just like, "Oh, let's just
Yeah.
chant, chant," as if I don't know she was gonna like leave her body or something. And I remember there was another devotee who said, "I don't know, call an ambulance." And simultaneously, the Harina was still going on. You know what I'm saying? This is like the
It's
typical
not.
devotee like distributing the pamphlets, the book distributor, like fired
It
up.
is really sad, but it's almost like a Monty Python skit, you know? It's like so, I mean, devotees can be like so detached from the
But like,
world
is,
around them
is is
sometimes.
that actual detachment though? Because then,
Yeah.
because then that we can open a whole can of worms and be like, oh, when some I don't know bad situation happen, when shit happens basically, and you tell one devotee, and then he says, oh, Prabhu, that's your karma, whatever. And I mean, I don't know. In reality, yeah, part of it is karma, and I don't want to get into that topic right now, but it's like, yeah, probably she fainted because, well, we found out later that she had some, I don't know what's the term, but some chemical imbalance and whatever. She had an actual condition,
Mm,
and then
yeah.
uh, I guess she was busy doing seva the whole day that she didn't eat before the Harinam, and
Yeah.
it's an actual maybe she was not supposed to be there, whatever, and she went because again, there's a whole the guilt tripping aspect of it also. It's like, okay, if you don't join the Harinam, why do you live at the temple? You should come, you're a fallen devotee, etc. So maybe I never knew because then she left the movement as far as I understand. Obviously. But
That had nothing to do with the care she was receiving or not receiving, or the pressure she
nothing
was
it
under.
has nothing to do with that. But I assume that she was probably pressured, and she went to the Harinam even though she was not feeling it, and she fainted. Okay, you can say that's part of her karma. Okay, whatever. If you actually want to bring karma in the issue in the picture, okay, that had to happen. Whatever. And oh, it was so glorious that she fainted during Harinam. But like, what about the other part of like the community aspect of it? Like,
Mm,
wasn't that insensitive to just be like,
mm,
oh, she's just fainted. Let's keep chanting. Chant. She'll wake up. Just chant Hare Krishna.
totally. Totally. I'm probably thinking like, oh, it's the best place for her to faint and pass out anyway, or like die because she's on Harinam. Like, Haribol, Jai, like. I mean, there was one devotee also in the community here, this new bhakta, and he told me once that he and his like when he was younger, he was molested or something by his uncle, something like that. And I was the second person that he opened up to about this.
Right.
The first person was his wife's mother, who was a devotee. So he wasn't a devotee. He
Mm-hmm.
married a devotee, and he's now working and taking care of the family and everything.
Right.
And he said that he hadn't opened up to anyone in his life about this. And finally, he spoke to his wife's mother, who was a
Mother.
devotee,
Mhm.
senior devotee.
Okay.
And he said that he told her when he was younger, he was raped, basically. And her response was,
Oh
well,
gosh.
that's your karma. Deal with it. And it's like, how insensitive can you be? You know what I mean? It's like, here's someone who's had such a heavy traumatic experience in their life that's shaped who they are and the way that they're viewing the world and how they deal with people. And it's like the response is basically like, you deserve it. And now, is she wrong in saying that? No, not necessarily. I mean, it is
Not
his
necessarily.
karma, but like,
Yeah, but
how is that helpful in any
exactly.
way?
And
You know?
I just feel like, and I think we mentioned this um in one of our conversations last week, that it is almost as if that's the automated robotic response. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like I feel like devotees are programmed to, I don't know, like give advice or reply to another devotee's experiencing whatever, like the manifold of material energy,
yeah, yeah. And it's like, I know we're told, well, you can't. For me, I meet devotees, and I'm told, oh, you need to see the world through the eyes of Shastra,
Right.
and everything else is illusion. Or basically, everything you thought of the world before that, illusion. Unless you're seeing it the way that Shastra's telling it, then it's illusion that has no validity or anything like that. So
That's true, yeah.
there's this there's this kind of almost pressure to be like, if you're giving advice or if you see people, then quote Shastra, whether you've realized it or not, speak through the lens of Shastra, which is to a degree it's right, but then I think because of the lack of realization, it becomes like an almost impersonal, and it's almost like um there's a disconnect.
Just like, okay, this it's there in the book. This is how I'm supposed to react to this particular
Yeah.
situation, because anyway, it's just how material nature works. I'm sorry, Prabhu, it's your karma. But I don't know how much, like, are we actually talking from realization, or are we talking like that because we're supposed to speak that way?
No, I mean, I was just going to say, and again, it fits into the whole, yeah, you speak like this, then you fit into the Sangha,
Right.
and we'll accept you, and you're an advanced devotee. The more you quote Shastra, the more you dress like this, the more you do these externals, then we accept you. And it just doesn't create an environment of general authenticity.
The more you get into that program, the probably the more you feel like you can't be yourself, because then you'll be kicked out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like almost one thing after another just gets stacked up to the point where it's almost impossible to then be completely honest with ourselves, and then people just bloop. Like I know so many devotees that yeah, like after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, it's just like, oh, this isn't me. But like,
Right.
why isn't it you? It's because you've fit to all the externals,
Hmm.
but then who you are was never touched on. Like the
Right.
person that you are, that can still be Krishna conscious from where they're at, never was actually like authentically, honestly touched on. It was just
Right.
like
Hmm.
I went from this external to that external, and was never like completely sincere and honest in any of that whole. It's like this point of like numbers over quality, expansion over what I mean. Okay, we're expanding, but what are we even expanding? A society that perpetuates abuse. There's so many quotes of Prabhupada saying, like not so many, probably like at least three. I think I've read three different quotes, different letters that he sent out to different disciples at different times, saying like, okay, we have enough numbers now. Now we need to boil the milk.
The
You know, the
boil the
the
milk,
the
boil the milk. Yeah.
that quote, right? It's like we need to focus now on what we're doing as individuals. And I think this is the point, is like what's happening on an individual level obviously then
Individual
expands
level,
out
yes.
into a like collective level. And it's like we see this in the society. What's happening as a society as a whole is like just an expansion of what we're doing individually. So, um, yeah, this point again as well is like why do people leave? What I noticed again in the Sangha around me, when certain devotees left, there was never any introspection. What have I done wrong? Or what have
Oh,
we done wrong? It was always they were in Maya, they did XYZ,
apparat,
they had these anarthas. Exactly. It was never, you know, did we care for them? Did we provide a Sangha where they were able to, feel accepted and nourished in whatever propensities they had or inspired. It was just like it's all them. It's all their fault. It's nothing to do with me.
it feels like now the new generations, they're fed a particular narrative that
Mm,
will eventually program them to become this archetype of devotee, because we already see their potential as how they can keep
mm,
expanding the movement, not as anything else. As they join and they follow the whole program thing, they become less human and more robotic, and then we just start repeating things, like how everybody categorizes these kirtans or just any experience that the society provides.
yeah, I mean it's interesting. That all it's interesting because that almost makes me think that in of itself is almost like Sahajism. Like that's an ecstatic kirtan, taking what an actual devotional ecstatic symptom is and bringing it down so low to be
So
like, I
low,
just
yeah.
felt adrenaline. Like I instead of actually feeling like subject vicars, like what actual devotional ecstasy is, it's like I felt that ecstasy down here, and what it really was just I felt like inspired to stand up in kirtan and jump,
And that's all
or
right.
like
It's like, why can you just say, I had a good time, I enjoyed,
yeah,
I went there with the desire to enjoy in a, I don't know, in an environment that I would feel less guilty.
yeah, but yeah, which and you're right, it is. It's like that's fine and that's great. Better to do it there than in a club with people like drinking and smoking. For sure, better to enjoy in kirtan, but let's not like blur the lines here of what actual
Exactly.
ecstasy is.
And that's what I've been trying to say. And then it's like, oh, Prabhu, you're criticizing the Kirtanese. Prabhu, it's apparat. Isn't it
It's just
apparat?
having discernment.
I remember one thing I want to bring up is that I remember there was this point that we discussed last week too, which is really cool, about um devotee lingo, like
Yeah.
how using particular words, phrases that other devotees use, and again, we've been programmed to speak that way. Um, this language can become also a barrier to yeah, opening up. And first of all, like doing the inner work first, it's like, okay, there's something wrong in me, and doing that process first, and then going on the second stage of
Mhm.
actually confiding and engaging in one of the six exchanges, which is revealing your mind and confidence. So
Yeah.
can we talk a little bit about that, like the
Yeah.
whole using language, devotee lingo, to avoid working on our issues? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good point, and I noticed just how important this is over the past month or so. Just opening up with a few friends and realizing like it's so easy to just cover up actually directly facing my anartha by again just having a broad stroke of being like I'm in Maya or going because when I first met devotees it was like encouraged of course reveal your mind to senior devotees and that's a little bit uncomfortable for many reasons. One, obviously, because it means I need to face myself
Right.
on a pretty deep level. On another
Yep.
level, it's like I need to then speak to another person about that. And then they'll potentially see that I'm not as pure and amazing as I am. And the other side is that I barely actually even know the senior devotee. It's like I don't have a really deep,
Deep personal connection with this person.
they don't really know me. I don't really know them. They don't know my past. I don't know their past. I don't really know them all. And then I have to like say this really deep intimate, vulnerable thing about myself. Like, and many people, I mean, it was used against me when I left a certain Sangha. When I initially joined, it was used against me, like, oh, he left because of XYZ and artists. So these
Mhm.
things that I revealed to the senior devotee,
It was used against
being with all of exactly, but
blackmail, and yeah, that sucks.
exactly. But then even not getting into that, it's happened to other people before. I'm not claiming to be the only one, but it's like, yeah, the thing is. even aside from that, it's like you go to these senior devotees and it's like I notice it's not just me, but other people. But my experiences, I felt uncomfortable addressing the anatta and more comfortable just going, Prabhu, I struggle with lust.
Mm.
And that's addressing the anatta, of course, in a broad way. But what I notice, which is actually more, how should we say, like, um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's helping to deal with the anatta deeper and actually move through it. Is just being direct about it. Like instead of saying, "Oh, I have lust," it's like, let's just be real. Okay, I either struggle with pornography or I struggle with drug abuse, or and how do you struggle with these things? Like I after Mangalarti go and smoke weed or something,
Right.
or whatever it might be, or like I watch porn X amount of times in the day, or I struggle with illicit sex, or I, eat these things, like being completely direct about it,
Right.
But I
Absolutely.
think as long as we're cutting off ourselves, then we also cut off other people. We don't allow it in ourselves, so we don't allow it in other people.
And that's why it's really important to have these conversations. And like I think that's how it happened with us. Like, I mean, before we were friends and whatever. But then I think when we started like opening up and talking about these things like on a without the fluff, not that we did
Yeah,
it before, but it's just like maybe we didn't know each other in that level. But when
yeah,
we did, and when we actually started exchanging more than just Prajalpa, which we still do, but uh, when we when we started actually um, opening up the space for this, I think in my personal experience, I feel that our friendship, our relationship, I don't know, deepened or just went into a different direction, in a positive direction, and it just
mm,
shows that what you said, it just like having this exchange with at least one devotee that you can just open up your heart without feeling judged, it makes a difference.
yeah, totally, totally. And again, going also back to the point, like again, if we can see it in ourselves and be honest with ourselves, then we're more inclined also to be more empathetic and understanding of others that also have it and maybe come to be honest about it. Because what I see in this sangha is that devotees um, having these anartas, denying they have it, not opening up to anyone about it, and then it inevitably coming out in a
Mm.
way that's like, I don't know, such and such. Krishnadas Brahmachari fell down because he sent certain pictures to Mataji's outside of the ashram,
Oh,
right? And then it's like, okay, rejected. We, you get away from the society. We don't want to hear your name. We don't want to see you anything. But it's like that could have been avoided if he was
if it would have,
honest,
yeah.
like about his feelings earlier on, and if there was an environment that wasn't just like, if this feeling is actually brought to the surface and expressed and talked about, then we won't reject you. It's like we have this whole thing like in Kali Yuga, we're the most fallen, 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 fallen. But yet, when someone's honest about how fallen they are, it's like we reject you, or at least there's a small window. There's a window like when you first join the movement, like
It's
when you first
okay.
join and yeah, okay, you
You
got
are the
six
fallen, and
months.
it's okay. Come and join us.
Yeah.
You have 6 months. Come to Bhakti Shastri. Come to the morning program. You have to be pure by the end of the 6 months before we go. The Kartik Parikram with Gurudev. You have to be ready. And then after,
There's no room.
there's no room after, especially after you taking some position, like you're the book distributor, the kitchen,
Oh yeah,
whatever. You are the pujari. You are that person that's representing that whole weight is on your freaking shoulders. That just, gosh, like that's where we should talk about guilt, but I don't want to talk about it now because it's gonna get too long.
yeah,
But
and it makes it
mhm,
hard for people to be honest. That makes it hard for people to be honest with because we have a certain nature. We can't help it. We're not completely transcendental. We want to fit into a group.
yeah.
We want to fit into we did that before we were devotees. Even other people that are like, I don't want to be part of a group, they're fitting in with the group of people that don't want to be part of a group. So it's like we have this thing that we want to be part of a group, we want to fit in. So then it's like we come into the Sangha of devotees and it's like we're shown and told, you know, you're one of us if you tick
If
XYZ
yeah,
external boxes, you know? And it's like we're told we're devotees if we again tick X, Y, Z external boxes, but it's not. There's not kind of, I think, a deep understanding of what it means to be Krishna conscious on an internal level. In terms of our
Wow.
moment to moment, day to day activities that might not be direct angas of bhakti. You know,
Right.
I mean, there's that. I think there's a quote. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Maybe it says in the Bhagavatam that we need to search after the absolute truth directly and indirectly.
Right.
So I think there is also room then, judging by that, to um, figure out how to be Krishna conscious in activities that might not necessarily be direct angas of bhakti. I've, I mean, I've myself had a little bit of experience about like with this that I've maybe been open to certain devotees about the najas I'm going through
Right.
that are very, you know, not glorious things, obviously. Things that would get me rejected by the society, things that deserve actually, yeah, deserve rejection actually. And when I've been able to be open with these certain people, they've accepted it and still given me advice and still cared about me, which in of itself opens up a whole other field of mercy and love, and that in of itself is transformative, I
This
would
is
say.
like my struggle is real, and I need to relate to someone who can help me with that without judgment. It reminds me also. I told you that a couple of years back I was going through a particular very difficult time in my life. It was like a very dark period, and I wasn't really performing well at work and also at the temple. And I had a ton of seva. Like I was pujari, I was the Harinam leader, and there was so much expectation and to cook and I was just feeling like I was drowning in this this problem that I was going through. And then I met this Vaishnav who came to visit the local temple where I was serving, and somehow by divine arrangement, I was I became his temporary servant around, while he was touring the area. And then somehow he opened up that space for me to speak about my issues. And I was afraid because I had been judged already by, the management and devotees from even other temples and the people who knew the situation and everything. And he was the only Vaishnav who heard me first. He heard everything, he processed it, and then he was like, "Hey, this is the advice that I have for you. This is how it will, this is how I can make it better." And he didn't give me any, deep harikata, or because like I told you, like I didn't care what color, Lalita's dress was or how many holes Krishna flute had. I didn't care any of that. I didn't care about not that I didn't care, but I wasn't interested in those things at that moment because I didn't need that. I needed someone to
Yeah,
hear my struggle. This is how an art and Riti looks
yeah,
for me right now. And this is all the stuff
yeah,
that's coming out of, um, like this is what I'm going through. And I need someone that I can,
yeah,
you know, and even
yeah,
since that
yeah,
moment, I noticed that we didn't have enough devotees willing to do that, hearing and
yeah,
specifically
yeah.
talk. Yeah.
I mean, I think if anything, I think if any message could be given to any of the devotees that are listening to this, it could be just to highlight the importance again of just being 100% honest with ourselves, where we're at,
Yes.
as raw as it might be, as uncomfortable as it might be, holding the microscope. Because again, I mean, we're one aspect I think of Shastra is okay, we can see the world around us, but then the other aspect is we can see ourselves then where we're at. So I think it's really important to be honest with where we're at, with ourselves, and of course, then also reveal our minds to someone who's um, on the same level as us and also senior to us.
Right.
But I think it's important to not just blindly go to any senior devotee or anyone. Like I think there also needs to be importance um, given to having discernment and
Discernment
being able
and
to
yeah, yeah.
understand. Like, okay, will this devotee? Can I trust that they will actually be able to hear me out and they will give me good advice, or are they extremely external in their approach? When I hear them, are they just going to be external as well and be like, "Oh, you're in Maya"? Like if I open up specifically about an anarta to one senior Vaishnava, are they going to be able to be real and raw and give me advice specifically, or are they going to give me, like we were saying before, like
The
if you're
generic.
going to this senior devotee, it was your karma that you were raped. Like, are they going to? You're in Maya, so you need to chant more rounds, or are they going to be able to address me like and be vulnerable and raw also? So I think having that discernment as well, because I think at a certain point we need to learn how to um, see internals, not just judge a Vaishnava by externals, not just judge a society by externals, and also
Well, yeah.
ourselves, and swap the narrative, swap the vision, like how I'm viewing the world, how I'm viewing people, how I'm viewing Vaishnavas, and try to see the internals of what's going on, not just the externals.
This has been really
What do you
cool.
think, man?
It's been really cool. So many, like, I'm already thinking about like the subtopics that can come out of this conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I hope that the audience doesn't get too lost in the train of thought. I don't know the exact direction we went today.
Just let it flow, actually. Yeah. And again, that's the
Yeah,
whole thing that I'm trying to emphasize is that it's important to connect at least with one person that you can have an honest Sangha. In fact, that's how I wanted to kind of name the whole segment, because it is important to talk about your struggles without judgment, and also getting the advice that you need from someone that is higher than you, that can give you that positive input. I think we touched on so many topics that we might have not developed properly, and we went on this particular road. But I hope that this is not the only call that we have. I hope that we can have more of these conversations, because I think whatever you
sure, definitely.
whatever you share is like it's incredibly valuable, and it's like so many so many really cool insights. And I'm sure, I mean, I hope that whoever's listening appreciates the honesty and our experiences, I guess. And I don't know if you want to call it wisdom, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I have to say as well, like I mean, thank you for that. And I think also, I mean, the vice versa, the feeling's mutual, but in the sense, like my train of thought, sometimes it's just all over the show. And I notice with yourself, it's like you're really good at speaking very clearly, giving like a thought like in a box and then like expressing it as well, man.
Yeah, no, man, let's keep doing this. And I think that we already made it quite long, and it's best if we stop here, so then whoever's listening can digest everything we spoke about.
Yeah.
And
Yep, sounds good.
hopefully this conversation opens up that space. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for bringing your valuable wisdom and insight. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on here, man. We'll see. I'm looking forward to the feedback if there is any. Yeah.
Right, that's pretty much everything for today. Thank you for watching, and if you made it this far, thank you. I hope you found something useful in this conversation. There's a lot to talk about, so probably we'll have part 2 of this or not. If you liked it, if you think there's something of value in this episode, share it with your friends, comment, like, whatever the thing is. And I also have a Telegram channel where I share my daily reads of the spiritual scriptures. So if you're interested, I'm going to drop the link below, and let me know if you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, feedback, criticism. Just drop your comments here or hit me up on Instagram at Jivadoy Journals, and I'll see you next time.